All right, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Today is February the 9th. It is a super Sunday, and we have a super episode today. We're going to highlight some black legends in the sport, and in particular in the sport of football. And I have this esteemed panel here with Henry Brown and Hot Tub Tony. What's going on, Mr. Brown?
Nothing much. Nice to be back from this hiatus, I guess.
Absolutely.
Mr.
All
401,
right.
you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on, Hot Tub?
Ain't nothing, man. How y'all doing today?
All right. And welcome back, man.
Great to be back, man.
All right. Well, hey, let's get to it, man. We're gonna talk about the legends, and we talked about this earlier just to kind of get prepped for it, and there was some great names that came up, and so I'm super excited to hear about them. And I'm gonna let Mr. Brown kick it off with the
Well,
name that a lot of people need to appreciate.
we just had a brief discussion this morning, and the topic turned to James Harris, who was the first black quarterback in the NFL, Grambling State. So he played for Will Robinson, uh, played with O.J. Simpson, and he went on to the Rams, where he became the first black quarterback in the Pro Bowl. And immediately following his success with the Rams, I don't think they could take it. So consequently, what they did was they released him, and he never played again in the NFL. He played some in the Canadian Football League, but never in the NFL again. So he was a pioneer, and he was a, how should I say it? He was a forerunner to the day's quarterbacks. So with every step you take, there's somebody that's going to make the road a little bit more. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy, but they're going to give you an avenue or blueprint to succeed if you follow the trend. So look at the number of black quarterbacks we have in the NFL today that are doing great things. So thanks to James Harris.
Wow, that is incredible, man. And yeah, that's incredible. And yes, a lot of times, depending on what your generation is, you might think it started with Michael Vick. You know what I'm saying? But James Harris, man, that's a great one there. And Mr. Brown, anything you can, expound upon about what it was kind of like for maybe um Harris? You know what I mean? Like, what was it like on the field? I'm guessing that his style of play was different than what the quarterback position was traditionally like at that, at especially at that particular time.
Absolutely. I'll speak to you from the reference point that in my household, when he played on Sundays, everybody was around the television watching him. Not only could he throw the ball, but he could run with it. He was a we could call him a precursor to today's quarterback. You know, the Michael Vicks. And the sad irony about where we are, depending on how old you are, is where your history begins. You know, uh, most children today or quarterbacks today are Michael Vick driven. So what's going to happen 20 or 30 years down the road? Uh, who's going to be the catalyst for the next generation of quarterbacks? And that's not to say that we're going to forget Michael Vick. It's to say that typically we have a snapshot in time to where we specifically deal from. And that time is consistent with age, the relevancy of the sport, and if you're watching or not watching. And I'll harken back to perhaps one of the greatest debates right now is the GOAT in the NBA, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. There are children that have never seen Michael Jordan, so they ride to LeBron James GOAT. And there are those of us who saw Michael Jordan, and we typically, our frame of reference is watching Michael Jordan, and we label him the GOAT. And then if you try to set a standard, you say, by what are you measuring the GOAT? Is it championships? Well, then you'd have to go back to Bill Russell, but you didn't see Bill Russell. So in order to make their argument relevant today, well, there wasn't that many players in the league, or he didn't really play against anybody. So they go on and on. But then in the case of James Harris, he was accurate. And the thing that I'd like to remind you of, it wasn't by happenstance that he went to the Pro Bowl, because nobody wanted blacks in the. We couldn't think, or so they said. We couldn't manage a team or be leaders. So he broke all those stereotypes. And the bottom line is, he gave the Rams an opportunity to win. He gave the Buffalo Bills an opportunity to win. And winning does what? It engenders butts in the seat, money. But then they found him another quarterback, perhaps, and I can't remember who replaced him. Could have been Sonny Six Killer or Roman Gabriel, but I know the quarterback that replaced him didn't look like him. And it was years before the next black quarterback came into the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, what a trailblazer there, man. For James Harris. And I'm gonna go back and watch some of the games that I'm gonna go out there and try to find some, so I can just watch it in real time and just kind of pick off of that and just look at it and compare it to quarterbacks of that came along after him. And speaking of
Yes.
quarterbacks that came out, one of the quarterbacks that came after him, and I heard you mention Grambling. There was another quarterback that played at Grambling, and he ended up playing in the NFL, and that was Doug Williams. And Doug
But
Williams, oh, go ahead, Mr. Byrne.
no, I was saying I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, cool. And yes, Doug Williams, great quarterback. And man, he came along in a time where, like, similar to what you're saying with Harris. And the beautiful thing about Doug Williams, I know a lot of people are going to immediately go to what happened in Washington, where he was the first black quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl, and his numbers were just amazing on that 300 plus yards, all the touchdowns and everything in that game. Um, but he wasn't even initially going to be the quarterback to lead the team in that playoff. It was Schrader who was actually the quarterback at that time, and Williams came in and replaced him due to injury. And then the rest is history in that year when they defeated the Denver Broncos. But I want to spin it back. Um, well, first, he played at Grambling, and so to make sure he played for Eddie Robinson. That great quarterback, man. He was awesome in college, and you could see that he was going to be a professional. Just a matter of was he going to get that opportunity? Well, he did, and he played a team that people don't talk about. He played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and at that time, wasn't Tampa Bay, and y'all can verify this, but wasn't Tampa Bay they were a new team in the league.
Right,
It would be
right.
it would be like an expansion team coming in.
Yeah,
And those
expansion team.
right. So people would be like, if you think about when the Panthers came in, the Jaguars came in, and if you remember, they both went to like a conference championship early in their infancy stages of their um organizations. And that happened with Tampa Bay, led by Doug Williams. And that doesn't get talked about enough. He led this team
No,
to the NFC Championship game, right, against the Rams in 1979. I think the Tampa Bay Bucks came in around 76, 77. So quick turnaround there for Doug Williams. And I just want to make sure that that was highlighted as well, that he, don't forget his career in Tampa and the things he did there to lead them. Anything y'all want to add about Doug Williams?
I will say I'd like to add this.
Yes, sir.
in order to, in order for greatness to, in order for you to meet greatness at the right place at the right time, you have to be given an opportunity. And it's funny that you mention them, because they had a coach. Their first coach was John McKay. You remember him? He coached at USC. And at that
Yeah, I remember
time,
hearing about him.
yeah, they had a lot of black players at USC. and they were winning national championships. So we move him forward to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's not by happenstance that he met the
Oh.
person. He was given an opportunity, and he didn't squander it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
typically we hone in or we focus in on the individual, but if the individual is great, he's never given an opportunity. Like James Harris, the doors was closed on him. He never got another opportunity. So that's, to me, in my way of thinking, I think that's horrible because it's always about 10 on the pressing, dangerous times again. So will we have to reinvent the wheel? Probably not. But we're going to have to get out there, and these athletes are going to, they're going to have to lift their voices like the Black National Anthem. They have to lift it loud enough so that people know that, hey, this guy is talented, or we're making contributions that's not going to be marginalized. So that's what Black History Month is to me. Acknowledging great athletes and people who paved the way, because through sports, all things are possible. And I'll say this. It galvanizes people. You can look at a Colin Kaepernick who never got an opportunity to go back into the NFL because he took a stand, and I guess one of the lessons that I tried to teach my sons is that you can't be rode if you stand tall, but if you stoop, somebody's gonna take the first opportunity to ride you. So you stand tall in whatever you do, and that's why for me, I think athletics they're just a great thing. Great thing.
Absolutely. Well stated
Yeah, well
and well
said.
received. Yes, sir. All right. Hey, we're gonna get Hot Tub in here because he has
Mm.
an individual he would like to talk about. So Hot Tub Tony, tell us about this legendary football coach
Hey
and
man,
man.
this is one of my favorite head coaches in NFL history, and he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, and for the accomplishments that he made. The individual I'm talking about is Anthony Kevin Dungy. Yeah, a lot of y'all know him as Tony Dungy. He graduated from Parkside High School and went on to the University of Minnesota. In the University of Minnesota, he played as actually a quarterback during the '70s, where he won Most Valuable Player '75 and '76. But after that, he went on to the NFL. He went in the NFL as a free agent and ended up going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he won Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Super Bowl 13, if I ain't mistaken. Um, he holds the distinction as the most recent player to intercept the pass and throw an interception in the same game, and that happened because during his tenure with the Steelers, they made him a defensive back, but in a particular game, Terry Bradshaw went down with injuries and the backup went down with injuries. So next man up, the third string, former quarterback experience. So they put Tony Dungy in there. In the same game, he threw interception and he caught an interception in the same game. Last player in the NFL to do that. He went on to have a fairly decent career. He got cut by the Giants and went into coaching back
Hmm.
with the Steelers. He bounced around in on the defensive side of the ball till he got the opportunity to go back to Minnesota under Dennis Green as the defensive coordinator for Minnesota. And Dennis Green is important because a lot of your black coaches came up under him. And surprisingly enough, and Tony Dungy continued that tradition when he became a head coach, bringing up a lot of them. But after he played under Dennis Green allowed him to go and interview for the Tampa Bay position that came open in 95. 96, he got the position. And during his tenure at Tampa Bay, They went to the playoffs. He made the playoff 4 out of the 6 years he was down there, culminating in that last year when he was fired. But he put together a team so strong that the following year, after he left and John Gruden took over, that team with
Yeah.
no changes went to the Super Bowl. That was Tony
Mhm.
Dungy's team. John Gruden got
Hmm.
a lot of the credit for that, uh, but John Gruden was never able to come back and replicate the success of that team. That team was dismantled the following year, and John Gruden never went back to the Super Bowl. So that was Tony Dungy's team, and he got robbed on that. But he was able to bounce back. He went up to the Colts, and we all know what he did in Indianapolis. He his time he put together a powerhouse defense in Indianapolis. They had a good offense already, had Peyton Manning, but he came in and brought that element of that defense that was that missing piece. And if you remember, Peyton Manning could never beat Tom Brady until he got under the tutelage of Tony Dungy, which culminated in them going to the Super Bowl and mounting at that time what was the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history against the Patriots. And that's all credit to Tony Dungy. So he won the Super Bowl not only as a player but as a head coach. So he's the first black head coach to win a Super Bowl, and also the first black head coach to win a Super Bowl. To win the Super Bowl as a player and a coach. So that was a big accomplishment for him. He's also the first head coach, period, to beat all 32 teams in the NFL. That's a feat that had never been done again. He was the youngest assistant coach at 25. He was the youngest defensive coordinator period at 28. And we got to look at his pedigree and all those that came up under him. So it's a lot of most of you black coaches now have some lineage to Tony Dungy. Among those was Lovie Smith, Herm Edwards, Jim Caldwell, Mike Tomlin, and Leslie Frazier. And
Wow.
as we know, we see what Mike Tomlin did. That's 2 Super Bowls up under him. So Tony Dungy's legacy and importance to the NFL cannot be understated because, as we see, most of your black coaches, your defensive coordinators, your offensive coordinators, they have to come up under another black head coach because that's the only way that they're going to get the opportunities. Historically, that's the only way they've been able to get the opportunities to become head coaches is if they come up under somebody else's lineage. So that underscores the need to have these black coaches in the NFL because if you don't let one in, you can't let more in. And I give a lot of credit to not only Tony Dungy but Dennis Green also because they made opportunities for the head coach, for the black head coach that you see now. And I think Mike Tomlin is the culmination of that. He's an extension of that. So,
Hmm.
that's why Tony Dungy is my favorite head coach period in the NFL, in the history of the NFL. Not just because he's black, but because of all the things that he accomplished that don't get talked about. A lot of people just focus on that one victory in Indianapolis. They overlook the fact that he put together that Tampa Bay team. They overlook the fact that everywhere he went, he has a lineage of success. Whether it was with Kansas City, whether it was with Pittsburgh, you know, he coached. He has a very extensive coaching background that we don't even go into. We just start pretty much from the time he was in Minnesota as the defensive coordinator. He worked himself up to that position over the course of a decade, if I ain't mistaken, and been successful ever since. He never looked back. Now as we see, he's in the commentary world, but let's not overlook his legacy because he has a strong legacy even all the way up until this day. So that's why for me, Tony Dungy always gonna be my guy.
Well, that's hey man, that's a great one there, man. And man, I learned so much just listening to you there about that. I didn't know that he threw a interception and had an interception in the game. That was just interesting. Just the fact that he was able to do that at a professional level to play defense and quarterback. That's amazing. And then, like I said, the lineage, the coaching tree, all that. That's great, man. Anything you want to expound upon, Mr. Brown, on Tony Dungy?
Yes. Yeah. Uh, so we have to be proud of him because he's black, because he's carried the water for a lot of people, like you said. You look at his
Oh yeah,
coaching tree, who came after him. So when we quantify something, well, not because I'm saying yes because he's black, because we have to have people that we can turn to, like you just so eloquently put, and say, hey, that's ours. That's where we come from. But if given a chance, we can do the same thing. And that dad blasted guy that took over from John Gruden, he never ever replicated the success of Tampa Bay or even Oakland, for that matter, and the type of leader and person he was caused him to be fired. Tony Dungy is a quiet storm.
hmm
He did
Mm,
great things, and he and people wanted to play for him. That's the thing. You can get all these great players like Warren Sapp. He'll tell you. He said Dungy is his man. Uh, and you got to look at how the draft go. People typically believe that the coaches don't have any input into the drafting process, and that's a huge mistake. You got to get guys that can be coached up. So Tony Dungy had an eye, or have an eye, for talent, and his enshrinement in the Hall of Fame is well deserved. It's not a give me. It's not, well, we're gonna put him in because he's black. You put him in there because he's successful, a successful
very.
black man. And I just like I'm gonna just say this to you. Well stated. The facts that you put on the table today, and that's exactly what they are. You can't dispute facts. You can say anything in this world you want to say. Tampa Bay never won again with John Gruden. They had to get rid of him. And then the owner of the Raiders said he's the worst person he's ever hired in his life. So character is everything. Leadership is important, but more importantly, acknowledge what you've gotten from somebody. He never acknowledged Tony Dungy's input into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Never, not one time, and that was
No.
always for me. That was always a rub right there, because
Yeah.
John Gruden has been the beneficiary of, I'm gonna say it, white welfare. He
Yes,
is
sir.
the
Yes, sir.
most overrated head coach I've ever seen. And your only success, you changed nothing. You didn't change the defensive or offensive scheme once you got into Tampa. Once he got into Tampa Bay, you literally took Tony Dungy's whole team, coaching style, and won a Super Bowl. So imagine had Tampa Bay not fired Tony Dungy and kept him. That
Yeah.
would have been Tony Dungy's Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
one thing
Absolutely.
I forgot to mention was that at the time when he took over Tampa Bay, we forget Tampa Bay was the worst team in
Oh
NFL.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Come on. They've never had anything going down there in Tampa. Tampa Bay was the
Never.
doormat of the NFL. They they were the absolute most atrocious team in the entire NFL. They used to call them mail-in victories. We're going to
I
Tampa
remember when
Bay.
they
We're
used
going
to
to
wear the bags on their head.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, I'm an
yeah, that was
NFC South guy, so this one
that
kind of
was
hits to me, because it took him 2 years
yeah.
to take
Turn
them
it
from the
around.
worst team in the NFL to winning, to making the playoffs for the next 4 years.
Well, so how about we say this? It took him 2 years to turn them from a doormat into one of the most feared teams in the NFL. People didn't want to go down to Tampa Bay after he took over and put his footprint in the organization.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Warren Sapp, and that's one thing I overlooked when I spoke, was that now Warren Sapp is also up under that umbrella, because we see
Yes,
he's
sir.
coaching defense for Colorado.
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Well,
He's
you
gonna
look
definitely
at
take some of that teaching.
At the time they didn't want Warren Sapp coaching at all. Dion gave him that
Yeah.
opportunity,
Yeah.
but he's taking everything that he literally runs the same defense that he ran up on the Tony Dungy. That's saying a
Yeah,
lot.
It
yeah.
says a hell of
Great
a lot.
man right there. Look at that Hall of
Hmm.
Fame bus right there. Great man.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, Tony Dungy, man, that's a great one, man. We probably should have ended with Tony Dungy. But that's fine. Get it right in there. Get squeezed in there. But we have one more that I want to make sure that we bring up, and then we'll get to the any other ones that you want to just have honorable mentions about, man. Because we could do this all day. But how about Ed Too Tall Jones? Um, Ed Too Tall Jones. This is a player, Dallas Cowboy. He's known for that. But he attended Tennessee State University, and he went there on a basketball scholarship. And he said, "Well, why are we talking about him as far as football?" Well, he was 6'9", and due to his height, he was an excellent basketball player in high school. Obviously, to be recruited to go play college, and but he went there, and he also he went there, but he ended up switching to play football. And so this gentleman ended up being the number one pick in the NFL draft. So, coming from an HBCU, and he was the number one pick in the NFL draft. And now, according to the story from him, he didn't even think he was going to get drafted number one until Tom Landry and those guys ended up having dinner with him. And then they made some moves because they had to make a trade with Houston at the time in order to get to that number one pick. And they drafted him number one. So Ed Too Tall Jones, a lot of people may not know that, but he was the number one draft pick. And there was a Heisman Trophy winner quarterback, I believe, from Notre Dame during that season. And it was rumored that he would go number one, but it ended up being Ed Too Tall Jones, right? So um, that should be inspiring for a lot of athletes out there that don't play at the quote unquote Power Five schools and all that stuff. You can get there if you work hard and you have the skill set. It's really about you. And so for that, I like to make sure that people know about Ed Too Tall Jones. Now, he had two stints with the Cowboys, and his first stint, he played a couple seasons, did a lot of damage. Then he went to boxing and was going after his boxing career, and he did that for a couple of years. But then he came back in 1980 and rejoined the Cowboys, and again did damage there. So he's a Super Bowl champion, Black College Football Hall of Fame, first team All Pro, two-time second team All Pro, three Pro Bowl appearances, rookie team, was All American in college. Like this guy did it all. And so Ed Too Tall Jones is one of those that, I learned a lot of things about, and I wanted to make sure that he was acknowledged today. Ed Too Tall Jones, Dallas Cowboys. Anything there about Ed Too Tall Jones, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I can tell you, you know where I stand on them Cowboys. And they used to beat us like they used to beat us like rented mules, and then take us to the shed, feed us, and then wouldn't feed us. So but they used to come to Detroit and lay them hands on us. He used to beat us down. And the reason I can speak with reference, we weren't the only team he beat down. You know, there was, there was no answer for him. He was big, strong, and fast. And that's when didn't they have that doomsday defense?
They did.
Yeah, with him in there,
They sure
yeah,
did. Yep.
it always spelled doom for us when they came to Detroit. That's why I'm not a Cowboy fan. You mention them, I get scared.
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, this big guy right here, man, that's agile enough. I mean, obviously he's a great basketball player, so he has that agility to go along with the size and strength and everything. To be this monster, man, Ed Too Tall Jones. And so the nickname Too Tall Jones was given to him by a friend, which is always cool, by the way, when your friends give you,
Yeah,
or your when people give you the nickname. But
right. Yes.
that he was too tall to play, they said he was too tall to play football. And so I guess that's where that came from as far as Too Tall Jones. Um, but yeah, and there's an image of him right there. I mean, look what he's doing to Terry Bradshaw right there. Just brutal.
Oh yeah,
Man, How many flags would that be today?
Yeah.
Whole different game now.
But yeah,
He
yeah.
came up in the real era of football.
Yeah.
My goodness. But yeah,
Bloody
that's Ed Too
hands.
Tall Jones.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, but there he is, Ed Too Tall Jones. All right, hey, there's hey, we got tons that we could talk about, right? We just highlighted a few there. But we can do it again because it is Black History Month, and we don't have to always regulate it to that, but we know that across the country is highlighted, but this is what we can do. But hey, any other names you just want to just give an honorable mention to, and then we can go into detail with with some of the more guys on another show.
All right.
I kind of want to give a shout out to Atlanta Falcons head coach Raheem Morris. He
Okay, nice.
that's a big accomplishment. I think he will hold the distinction, and I got to do a little more research, but I'm almost certain that he's the only black head coach in the NFL that did not come up under a black head coach. So that's a first right there. But like I said before, that path that he's in now, that path was laid by the likes of Dennis Green, and that's a name that I want to revisit too in the future show because his legacy can't be understated, and a lot of people made a joke out of him before his passing and later on in his career because of that interview. We all who they thought they were.
Yeah.
Funny as that was, he
That was
coached with a lot of
pathetic, though.
pride. Huh?
That was a pathetic statement because they still mumble it today. Great words you use.
Yeah,
But I don't want him. I don't want that to be the totality of his legacy because
I don't
what
think
he
that will
did,
be.
what he did for the NFL for black coaching period cannot be understated. And I think that gets lost in that whole conversation when we talk about great black head coaches because he didn't achieve what say a Tony Dungy or Mike Tomlin did. His contributions were no less legendary than theirs.
absolutely. Yeah, I remember him, and I remember what he did for those franchises that he coached for. I mean,
Right.
he did great work with those franchises. Yep. I have a name I'll throw in there that we could talk about in the future. Walter Payton.
That's a
This
good
is
one.
one of the greatest all around running backs and men of all time. They have the Walter Payton um, Man of the Year in the NFL, right? So
Right.
award, and then they have Walter Payton Award in for HBCU, um,
Mhm.
which is given out for I believe it's the best offensive player in HBCU football. So Walter Payton, that's definitely one we definitely going to talk about in the future as well. Walter Payton. Then this guy could run it. If you need somebody that can run it and run it tough, or if you need somebody to do some elusive running, like a Barry Sanders style, if you need a running back that can pass protect, if you need a running back to pass the ball to out the backfield, I mean, he was the total package. You know what I mean? So we need to talk about Walter Payton.
Absolutely. The precursor to what we seeing in the Super Bowl this year.
Mm.
Excellent point. All right. Okay, gentlemen, this was fantastic. And I can't wait for us to do it again. Mr. Brown, man, glad to have you back, man. Glad to have
So
you
can I
back.
throw my summary out?
Yes, sir. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna say Junior Bridgman, and you probably
Yes,
gonna say,
sir.
well, who is he? Junior Bridgman played for the Milwaukee Bucks, but he's one of the wealthiest players that ever played in the NBA, and he didn't do it. Went to Louisville, and he owned all these businesses now. Then Earl Lloyd, Muhammad Ali, Ricky Henderson, and Jackie Robinson. And I don't call it honorable
Man,
mention, trailblazers.
Absolutely.
man, man, you just dropped some serious bombs there. And I can't wait for us to break those down. We're gonna have to do that ASAP. Can we do it next week?
Put this lady. We've ignored the ladies, but put this lady in the rotation too. Athea Gibson. Look her up.
Yes,
All right.
we'll
Just look
do.
up Athea Gibson,
Absolutely.
and you will be impressed.
Did she go to the same school as Ed Two Jones? Did she go to Tennessee
No,
State?
no.
Okay.
I that's Tennessee State. You're talking about Wilma Rudolph,
Okay,
who was a
Rudolph.
track.
Okay.
Yeah, Wilma
All
Rudolph, who
right.
was the Olympic gold medalist.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking her up now.
All right. But Althea
Yes, sir.
Gibson, which you'll find is like you say, Hot Tub Tony says he talk about Dennis Green and everything. That's my niece, so I'll call her right back. That's you talk about Dennis Green. So you greatness have to have some place to come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna give you this jewel. Venus and Serena Williams. If you look back, Althea Gibson was the lady.
Wow. Okay.
And they didn't like it because she was giving them the business. And Arthur Ashe.
Arthur Ashe too. Yeah,
Oh, all
absolutely.
that. Yep.
Anybody that gave them the business, they did everything to downgrade them. But television has changed all that because television bring on money. So you couldn't get rid of the Williams sister because once people start watching them, that's revenue.
Hey
But they
man,
brought
I can't wait for you. I can't wait for you to talk about Gibson. I can't wait for you to talk about Gibson. I'm looking at some things on here now,
I'm
and
telling you.
I can't wait. I'm just look. I'm pumped up about that.
Well, we're gonna do.
The t-
Well, I'm back. So I've had a hiatus. I no longer work. I'm completely retired now.
well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a good thing. I chase golf balls most of the days.
Well, you living the life.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, we
Hey,
gonna we
thank
gonna
you.
talk. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Say it
I
again, Mr. Brown.
appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
I
No,
said
we.
thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
yes, sir. We
Tony,
appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
I'm not at my best this morning. I got on my going to the store clothes because I got to get some Super Bowl stuff done. So I'm gonna cook some crab cakes today.
Oh
I
wow.
need to come over there and eat over there.
Hey, Tony, you sound like a person that can eat probably about 10 or 15 of them. It look like you don't play.
I don't miss a meal.
And I didn't say
Absolutely not.
hey Tony, I didn't say you're big. I say you sound like a person that can put it away. And
Hey,
I'm on a fixed income, Tony, so I can't,
well, hey, man, you dealing with me. I can put it away, and I'm big, so you
See,
not
that's what
wrong
I'm
on either
saying.
point.
Hey Tony, you sound big. That's what I'm gonna say. I don't know who you played football for, but you don't get to be my age and not be able to pick up on things.
Yes, sir. All right. Hey, one day
All right.
we also need to talk about highlight Henry Brown one day too.
Whoa. Man, that's telling the story.
Yeah,
That's telling
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
uh
But there it is. We're in the spotlight. We want to highlight some of our police and again, ladies, we do we're not forgetting you. We are going to highlight you as well. There's a long list that we can highlight in there as well. So, like I said, we got as who said the DL Center? I got time today. We may be running out of time today, but we got time this month, and we're gonna get it all in.
okay.
So we definitely will.
And
Absolutely.
you have women finding their way to the NFL now, coach. Serving in
Yeah.
There you go.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. NFL, NBA, they're in the offices now, front office, like Swing Cash in the NBA. I can
Yeah.
see with New Orleans,
Yeah. I like her.
and yeah, so we can keep it rolling, guys. All right. Well,
All right.
hey, I heard you mention you getting ready for the Super Bowl, but we do have a Super Bowl roundtable today with the NBA trade deadline conversation. So there's a panel there available. I'll make sure the link is out there. You guys are welcome to jump in if you want.
All
That'll
right.
be around 11ish, and so we're gonna have that as well. But I'm about to go hop into the college football scene in a couple
All right.
minutes here. and then we'll be
Okay.
back for the 11:15 round table for the NFL and NBA.
All right. Okay.
Bet.
All right.
If I can, I'm gonna try to get in here and get my stuff started. And if I get an opportunity, I'll jump back in.
Yes, sir.
All
All
right,
right. I'll
Tony.
make
Yeah,
sure
I'm
you have the
always
link.
in the chat.
All right.
Yeah, hot tub will
Tony.
be floating around in there.
Okay, cool. Cool. Tony, have a good day.
You as well, Mr. Brown. Congratulations on
All right.
retirement, man.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Everybody take care. Thank everybody for watching.
All right. Take.
Peace.
All right. Bye bye.